Hey guys, welcome to the Three-Man Weave College Basketball Show, hosted by SportsbookReview.com. Sorry, technical difficulties. I forgot I was hosting, but here we are. We did it. We're doing it live right now. Talking national championship. We are stoked. It's the game everybody wanted. The big heavyweight battle. Godzilla versus King Kong. Jim Root, Matt Cox. Baylor versus Gonzaga. We are stoked. Jim, I guess, how are you? Let's just start the show off that way. We got some time. What's going on? Takeaways, I guess, from the Final Four. Let's do that.
I'm still recovering from the Final Four, Ky. I mean, I don't know that we have seen a better game in our lifetimes. That Gonzaga-UCLA game was absolutely incredible. Just back and forth shot making on both sides. Both teams over 1.2 points per possession. I saw the ultimate difference was that Gonzaga had 3 more possessions because they won the opening tip, had the last possession before halftime, and they won the opening tip of overtime, had the last possession of overtime. Basically, the team scored the same points per possession, but Gonzaga got just that. It's one of those rare games where it truly is whoever has the ball last wins. It was a pleasure to watch. I enjoyed getting the Gonzaga outright win for my bracket pools and futures, but man, what a game it was, Matthew.
Yeah, UCLA was perfect, right? They gave us the ultimate game, but didn't ruin the ultimate game, which we have tonight. So nice job, UCLA. Phenomenal effort. I'll never understand how you made all the shots that you did on consecutive nights. Johnny Juzang just shoving it right up my ass with another, prolific scoring night, making tough shots from all over the court. Just had, we had to tip our cap to the Bruins. But yeah, let's talk tonight because this one's going to be a doozy.
Yeah, shot quality, guys. The shot quality site we like so much says Gonzaga should have won that game by 22 points based on shot selection. I mean, yeah, I believe they UCLA had some tough shots, but it was one of the best games ever witnessed.
One other stat, Ky, from just UCLA's performance. They shot over 55%. They had 10 or less turnovers and allowed 7 or less threes. And teams that did that this year were 98-1 before that game. And now it's 98-2 because UCLA was not able to climb the Gonzaga mountain.
It's incredible. Having to be at a bar during it, so there was a lot of good.
Yeah, I was with you.
Yeah,
that was fun. There's a lot of UCLA backers. A lot of people are on UCLA.
There were.
Yes.
And like that.
Before we get started, guys, here, reminder to subscribe and like to the video, to the SBR Sports Picks YouTube channel, and sbrpicks.com/March-Madness is where you can go for, well, I guess some national championship coverage because unfortunately, this is our last game of the season. But let's dive right into that game. Baylor Gonzaga, here we go. Spread. -4.5 Gonzaga. And Matthew, we saw look-ahead spreads before the Final Four game tip-off. Had Gonzaga at -6 in most places. Obviously, the UCLA game, plus Baylor just dismantling Houston, somehow influenced the line today to receive 4.5. Do you think this line is fair? And then which way do you lean or side with in this game?
Yeah, we've talked about in our little group me behind the scenes internal forum where our numbers at this point don't mean as much, right? And they're almost irrelevant. But if you just look at a pure number perspective, I think the early movement that brought this from 6 now down to 4.5, where it sits across most books currently, I think that was the right steam. I only had us at 3 or 4, but I would no position to go out and eagerly bet against Gonzaga right now. I don't know why. If there's one team I think deserves to be only a 4-point, 5-point dog to the Zags, it is this Baylor team. But at this point, I don't really see any line value. I mean, obviously, it's the last game of the year. The market's extremely efficient, and the earliest team, I think, has corrected it the right way. So it comes down, Jim, to matchups. Where are you looking here?
Man, there's a lot to look at.
I know, too much.
The fact that Baylor doesn't really have a post threat that they can at least try to go get Drew Timme in foul trouble, I think is a concern. They play through the post almost never. It's all backcourt reliant. Their bigs only score off offensive rebounds or dump offs in the paint off of drives. And then on the other end, does Timme have an advantage against the Baylor post defenders? I mean, he has a post advantage against just about everybody. But Matt, you pointed out in our preview on threemanweave.com that he's been best used as kind of like a roller, or they get him the ball at like the elbow, where he can attack in space because people just can't keep up with him. His footwork is too good. He's too mobile. His touch is just perfect around the basket. Some of the finishes he had in that overtime against UCLA were just incredible. Using his left hand through contact. There's at least one that I thought should have been an and one that he just played through. Gave us the old Drew Timme flex. So I don't know. There's a lot to look at. I think the glass battle is a big one. Ky might touch on that, but there are a lot of interesting aspects to dig into here, Ky.
Yeah, I think Timmy's the key. Obviously, I don't think Baylor has an answer for him. Like you said, no one has an answer for him, and certainly the inside is where the Zags were particularly a little bit weak against UCLA. I mean, UCLA hit a ton of crazy shots, but Cody Riley really did a good job against Timmy on the offensive end. On the defensive end, of course, he couldn't stop him. He's been averaging 25 points a game in this tournament. The Zags are scoring at will. Baylor does have a good defense, but so did USC. So I think Gonzaga is going to get what they want here. I do think Baylor can have success in the other end. I love their backcourt, obviously, the poise of their guards. Matthew Pace is something we always like to talk about. Baylor's going to try to control this game, and they probably have more of an ability to do that than former Zags opponents, right? This team is actually elite, just like Gonzaga, number 2 in the country here. Do you think they can control the tempo battle? Because you don't want to get into a track meet with the Zags, as we've talked about several times in this show.
Yeah, so we talked before the Final Four game between UCLA and Gonzaga that, if this game is going to be closer, it probably plays to a slower pace, and that was good for the under. So the first 2 components were true, but both teams were hyper efficient, right? So the over was an automatic hit, but I don't think it was because of pace, it was because of efficiency. If you're looking at a total here, I think the same narrative applies. If it is closer, Baylor's going to want to keep it a little bit slower. So from that perspective, if you're betting on the pace driving the under, then I think the under is the right play. But if you think both teams can score efficiently, which I tend to think, I think there's some good matchup advantages individually on both sides here. So I guess I would lean the over, but usually pace is the stronger variable, and the pace plus efficiency equals total value equation, Jim.
So I think pace is going to be high.
You think it'll be fast? Okay.
Yeah.
I think Baylor is kind of annoyed that they had to play a slow game against Nova, a really slow game against Houston.
Yeah, that's true.
And now it's kind of like that slingshot effect we talk about sometimes during the regular season where they played some slower opponents. I was a little surprised the Arkansas game wasn't faster, considering both those teams like to run. But I don't really see Baylor being like doing what UCLA did, where every time they got the ball, it was like, all right, Davion Mitchell, take a little lap in the backcourt before you cross half court. Let's slow this down. Let's walk it up. I mean, Campbell was like clearly making a concerted effort to do that. Yep. And Baylor's they're a great transition offense. Those guards are lethal if they get out in space. They get open shots in transition. Obviously, Gonzaga is too, but I think that's going to be huge for them. And, UCLA took care of the ball. Baylor has elite ball handlers as well. I think that's, could be a frustrating factor for the Zags, not getting those steals and open court buckets like they did against USC. I'm curious to see if we get that 1-2-2 again from Gonzaga here, because it was very effective against USC. And, maybe it's not totally to force turnovers, but if you can get Baylor to take quick shots that way, I think that is potentially useful for them. So curious to see if Mark Few breaks that out. That would probably help the over. I'm leaning towards the over, and I'm really torn on the side, guys. Despite the fact that it is a little lower than I expected, I'm still like, man, Baylor's great. I don't want to knock Gonzaga too much for that performance in the semis, because like we said, shot quality had them winning by 22. Like I would bet -14 against UCLA again tomorrow if they played.
Yeah, right. I would too.
So it should be whatever you had it before the semifinals. You should keep the spread the same here.
Yeah,
I agree, Jim. And speaking of total, we like to talk about KenPom discrepancies between spreads. Total wise, KenPom has this 85-81, 166 points, and the odds makers totals right now is 159. So certainly he thinks there's value to the over. Anecdotally, I think there's value to the over because we've seen these two teams put up elite offensive numbers all season long. Yeah. And whereas both teams can play defense, I just think both teams' offenses are awesome. And, as a fan, selfishly, I'm hoping for a high-octane game, back and forth, knockout affair that we saw with UCLA. I'm hoping we get the same thing with Baylor Gonzaga here. I do lean towards the over. And 4.5 points is too short for me. I'm going to stick with Gonzaga. I've said it a million times. Best team in 20 to 30 years for my money. They're historically good. I think they cut down the nets here. And I hope they do, too, because Mark Few deserves a national championship. It's time he got one.
I hope you're right, Kai. I took Baylor with the points at +5. I think on my preview when the time I published it was +4.5. I advised buying the hook to 5. You're right. Gonzaga's the best.
Mr. Hook.
Got to buy the hook, Jim. To key numbers only. Baylor, we talk about Gonzaga being one of the great teams in the last 20 years, but I put Baylor like in that top 5. Like you put Baylor in that 2015 Final Four with Duke, Kentucky, and Wisconsin. I think they're right in that mix. So, I mean, that's reflected in the spread, right? It's only 4.5 points against a team that's been a juggernaut all season long. I hope Gonzaga wins. I see it being a 1-2 possession game, but I did take Baylor with the points, Jim.
Yeah, I think the big thing, I'm glad that we finally got to see Gonzaga survive a close game, basically a gut check game. Like, can you handle this down the stretch? There's a point, I think, late where they were down 4, and I was like, I could see them freezing up here, like, taking a couple bad shots, rushing it on offense, but they didn't. I was mega impressed. Like, Jalen Suggs hit a really, really tough fadeaway in the lane, going over his right shoulder. He's shown that shot a couple times this year. It was a big moment for him, and they were just better down the stretch in a close game than I think anyone could have really reasonably expected, considering the fact that they haven't played one in months. So that was impressive. It should prepare them for another one if they get in a close game here. I do think we get a much better Corey Kispert tonight, fellas.
Yeah.
2 for 8 from deep, missed some legitimately just wide open threes, including one that could have iced it in overtime before the Juzang game-tying bucket. I thought he was going to hit that corner 3 and clinch the game there, but I think we'll see a little more efficient performance from him, maybe something like 4 for 7 from deep. So I do, I'm eyeing, there is a Kispert over 2.5 threes prop, I think, and I would be interested in that, to say the least. Kai, should we transition to talking player props here?
Yeah, real quick. Well, first of all, player matchup. Suggs versus Mitchell is going to be the best matchup ever in this game. I can't wait for that. Guys, one thing that came up in the chat here that, of course, irks me here. Someone saying Baylor's too athletic for Gonzaga, and there's talks about Gonzaga not playing anyone all year. I mean, we've squashed this narrative just a million times. Gonzaga
I think we just ignore these people at this point.
You have a team full of pros, guys. Gonzaga is an incredible, incredible team. But let's talk player props here, Jim. I actually haven't looked at any, but if you want to lead this section, go for it, and I'll pull them up real quick, and I'll give you a take.
I'm gonna set up Matt here because I have a feeling he's going to agree with me on this one. One I am a big fan of is Matthew Meyer, points, rebounds, assists.
You got better value.
Over 13.5.
How did his value go up, Jim? It was plus 6,000. Now it's plus 10,000.
I'm not talking about most outstanding player because he's not going to win most outstanding player, Matt.
So if Baylor wins and he goes for like 20, don't tell me he's winning this award.
He's still not. He played 19 minutes in the semifinal. Like he's not a key enough piece. Like they're going to give it to Mitchell or Butler. It's just going to go to one of those guys. But I'm saying points, rebounds, assists here. I think your point in the article was poignant on 3manweave.com. You discussed how important Meyer has been, how much better the offense has been with him and Cha-Cha on the floor. I think he's going to get that 20-minute mark or so. Vital just hasn't been the same player, and they're going to need the offense against Gonzaga. You've got to be able to score with Gonzaga. UCLA showed it. It's just hard to slow them down, so you need to be efficient on the offensive end. And Meyer adds that element of swagger off the bench. He's just boundless confidence. As soon as he's in, he's taking a 3 if he's open. I think he'll get some shots up. You get a couple of rebounds there as well. So I like that over 13.5, Matthew.
Love that, Jim. Are you going to go back to your under Mark Vital play here?
Just looking at that one.
It's down to 11.5. It's not 12.5 anymore. Yeah. I'm still leaning that way on the under. The one thing is I could see them trying to play the Vital at 5 lineup in this one, and seeing if he can just like muscle with Timmy a little bit. It's less of like a rebound blitz than Houston was. So I didn't think there was any way they could potentially play that Vital at 5 matchup there. But he got in foul trouble again. He had 4 fouls against Houston. Not really Gonzaga's game to get you into foul trouble, but he's kind of been unable to avoid it at this point. So I'm looking that way. I'm not officially locking that one in yet.
Jim. So the Suggs 13.5 point total is interesting here. So as someone pointed out in the chat here, Suggs's point total hit over on his half court shot. Pretty hilarious situation there. Down to 13.5 from 14.5 yesterday. And you have to think Davion Mitchell gets the assignment, arguably the best perimeter defender in the entire country. If you look at it from that angle, I kind of lean towards under there. But this is also a game I can see a guy like Suggs just stepping up to the moment and being able to take over. And you look at player futures in terms of most outstanding player for the tournament, for the Final Four, Suggs and Timmy are both plus 100. It's weird to me that Suggs is getting the same odds as Timmy, who I would think, Jim, is by far the should be the favorite to win this award. And in fact, that's where my money would be on Drew Timmy.
I just people aren't going to forget that game winner, you know. So I think if they have like relatively even games here, and if you go through the whole tournament, Timmy's stats are definitely better, but I think the Final Four just kind of means more to people. That game winner is so iconic, and that sequence too he had of the Cody Riley block and then the like half court bounce pass to Timmy for the dunk was just really transcendent, like a true professional play by Suggs there. I think Suggs was plus 400 before that semifinal game. To go all the way down to plus 100 shows how impactful that performance was. And then on the other side, the favorite Davion Mitchell, like seemingly the guy if Baylor's going to win. I know Matthew's on board, Mr. Meyer, but Matt, do you think Butler can get there? He had 16 or 17 in the first half against Houston. Was very, very quiet in the second half, but if he puts up, another 17 to 20 here, and Mitchell's just more the differential assist guy, then I got to think Butler wins it.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm looking at plus 700 is how you see it for Butler, most outstanding player. I'm with you, John. I think just comparing Butler and Mitchell together, Butler has more value. I guess if we know for sure that Suggs is going to guard Mitchell, that would make me even more confident in Butler. So you're basically putting the best Gonzaga perimeter defender on Mitchell, which, I mean, Ayayi, really good defender, Nembhard, fantastic defender as well, but not, I don't think, Suggs level. And Butler can have success within the flow of their offense against those two, if that's the matchup he draws. But yeah, like I said, Matthew Meyer plus 10,000. I'm sorry. I think that's worth putting $10 on, folks.
Stop it.
He could go off for 25.
No. Just give me $10 instead.
He had 12 points. He had 12 points last game. He had 4. I mean, he wasn't like a complete no-show. You're right, though. It's hard to see a scenario in which that happens and Mitchell, Butler both are quiet, because if one of them has like 15 plus points, they're probably going to give it to them if they win.
It's reputational. Like everybody knows those two have been their best All-American candidates all season. And Meyer's the sixth man. Like, it's just so hard to give it to him unless he has like 40 in this game.
Again, it's supposed to be Final Four most outstanding player. Well, we've seen some instances in the past where I feel like, let the tournament play bleed into that. So it's not always a clean cut, objective analysis guy.
I'm trying to check if DiVincenzo did win it in 18. So there has been an instance of a
right. The guy just goes off in one or two games, and that's right. Yeah.
And then he gets drafted. All right, Matthew Meyer, first round pick. One comment in the chat here, which I agree with. Kispert over 2.5 threes hit this game. He has been struggling from the floor a little bit as of late. He shot 18 threes combined the last 2 games. I mean,
I
if you're going by sheer volume, that's a great bet in my opinion. He's going to shoot at least 5 threes this game, and take whatever you've seen the last 2 games from him shooting out the window. He is one of the best shooters in the country. Don't be fooled. I mean, he's a career 40% plus 3-point shooter. I think that's a great bet.
Yeah, 45% this year. It's okay. He's 5 for 18 his last 2, but if he gets up 9 threes, I will happily take that bet. Yeah. Like, I will be pleased. So I like that one as well. The over 2.5 threes. Potentially his points over bet too as well, just because I think they're going to try to use him.
Ooh, Matt, the Luke Hancock mention in the chat for most outstanding player. There you go. There's your comp.
There you go. Yeah. So yeah, that's like what, 2 shooters, like more shooter based players in the last decade that probably were not even their team's top 3 or 4 offensive options. So yeah, plus 10,000, $10. Do it right now. I also want to talk about first basket. Let's overanalyze this one real quick here. So I think Baylor's going to win the tip, right? I think Thamba probably just has a pretty significant advantage over. Does Watson or Timmy take it for Gonzaga? I forget.
Timmy won against UCLA.
So Watson doesn't start. Yeah, they're starting Kispert at 4 and Timmy at 5. So yeah, I think Baylor wins this tip.
That'd be tough for him to win the tip.
He comes off the bench. Wow, 6 on 5. It's a no call. I'm looking at Teague or Mitchell for first basket plus 500 plus 550. Just I think Baylor gets the first possession. Those are 2 pretty good bets there. So I guess I'd lean Teague plus 500. Looking at just some nitty gritty, deep cut props right now.
Guys, any other takes here? I ran out. So reminder, I'm on the Zags minus 4.5. That's my bet here. I lean towards the over. I would lean towards the Suggs under point total. Not strong about that one. And I love Jay Wells' suggestion about the Kispert 2.5 over threes. Yeah, that's a solid prop. Jim, Matt, remind us your final bets, and then we'll sign off here.
I'm not taking the side here. I just mentioned in the chat. I'm working on my Gonzaga 12-1 bet that I made in the preseason. I also will take first and second in 2 bracket pools if the Zags win. So amped about that. But I also have I put a little on Baylor before the Final Four at plus 375. So that was my hedge to offset that. I'm probably just going to let those ride, not bet a side in this one. But I am thinking about the over And then also I mentioned the Meyer over points, rebounds, assists. I love that Kispert over 2.5 threes. And the one I haven't mentioned yet that I may end up betting is Nembhard over 4.5 assists. He's had 8 in 2 of the last 3 games. I think they have been running a lot through him. And if Suggs is being guarded by Mitchell, then I think you even more focus on Nembhard and let him create and distribute to others. So I'm going to go with that Nembhard over 4.5 assists as well.
He had a great game against UCLA too. Matt, how about you?
I think Nembhard and Ayayi, we even talked about how awesome Ayayi was. One of the more quiet, I think he had 20 plus points, hyper efficient. I mentioned in my preview how he's such an awesome cutter and he finds gaps in the defense. And with the way Baylor swarms you when you drive middle or drive baseline, I think there's opportunities to back cut them and get into seams. He's also massively important on the glass. He's going to have to be very much involved in the offense with the way Baylor defends at the point of attack. I think the over 21.5 on points, rebounds, assists for the Frenchman makes a lot of sense. Looking for one more. I endorse all of Jim's plays.
I like that PRA, because he's going to have to board. He's going to
I think that's a good bet for 8 boards at least, and he'll get some. He'll manufacture some points in different ways. I endorse all of Jim's props we talked about earlier. I'm against Ky on the side. I thought we had to take a side here. I thought that was part of the rules of this show, Final Four and beyond. We have to take sides. So I'm taking Baylor.
I don't want to sit on my hands, baby.
You're not taking a side in the national championship. I don't know what you're doing. I don't
know
what you're doing.
Efficient market. I'm not going to fight that efficient market.
Throw $5 on it. Call it like a tax for watching a great game. Hopefully,
I'll do that with the total. I'll do that. I'll bet the over there. There's my if I have to bet.
There you go.
This is a Freaky Friday episode with Jim beating Maddie Fenstrider and trying to push people into.
He's got the future angle.
I'll take Baylor again +5. Buy that hook, Ky. Buy it.
Yeah, I mean, we have different philosophies about hook buying. I just want to clear that out for the audience at home. I don't buy any hooks. Matthew likes to buy the key numbers. It's a different philosophy.
2, 3, 5, 7. Boom.
Yeah, right. Okay. Guys, thanks for joining us. Hey, we do have 2 more shows. I want to let everybody know that we have 2 more shows this year before we're officially done for the 2021 season. Tomorrow, we have our March Madness takeaways. Nothing gambling related to talk about, but get to reflect on an NCAA tournament that was quite awesome for my 2 cents.
Yeah, I'll probably cry. Sure, yeah, I'll probably cry.
And then Friday, we actually have a look ahead to 2022. Just previewing way too early takes on who could be good future bets for 2022.
I'm hoping there will be future odds out by then. I think traditionally, at least a book or 2 will have them up. It's going to be tough because of the player movement and. We don't know which seniors are taking their 5th year. We don't know where transfers are headed, but it is going to be, we'll try to find some opportunity amid all the chaos.
Yes. Before you go, guys, again, please do like the channel, subscribe to SBR Sports Picks, the YouTube channel, and sbrpicks.com/March-Madness is where you can go for more information about today's national championship. Please watch the game. Have fun tonight. We will see you tomorrow, 9 a.m. Central, and then on Friday at 9 a.m. Central. Have a good one. Enjoy the game. We will see you then.